Okay, now 4 days in a row they have attacked with the HAARP transmitter and dry air downburst. Thunderstorms right here in either the corner of Missouri or in Illinois. Just right in this corridor here. 4 mornings in a row, September 1st through 4th. Today's the 4th, 2014. And let me let this animation run. You can see it starts out as a nice thunderstorm. Right at daybreak it gets a downburst. So let me zoom in and you can see that a little bit. So if we jump ahead a few hours, it looks like this. Okay, so it's been obliterated by a bunch of dry air being pressed down. And jump ahead again a few hours and it's clearly gone. You see this weird scissoring action in the clouds. That's very strange considering there's not any. There's 0 north wind, supposedly. Here's a shortwave infrared. This is when they first hit it with the HAARP Downburst. Here's a few hours later, and notice this clockwise movement. This clockwise movement is not explainable by the surface or winds aloft. Here's water vapor mode when they first hit it, and you can see it gets smashed out and starts to just blow apart. Here's a couple hours later, and it's not a thunderstorm anymore, and a few hours after that. Now it's clearly gone. Not only that, but all the water droplets up in the clouds have evaporated. And the only way that can happen is by mixing it with dry air. And if we look at the next rad, you can see this is what it looks like. Let's see if I can get that centered. Okay, so this is when they first started hitting it with the HAARP Downburst. And what do we see? We actually see 3 concentric rings with this round boundary moving here. And if I can try and zoom in and show that a little bit. I don't know if you can see that, real distorted. But anyway, there's actually 3 separate rings right here. And that doesn't happen with the gust front from a collapsing thunderstorm. So if we jump ahead a few hours after that, you can see what the HAARP Downburst does to the storm. Whoops. Okay, so here's the storm, about 7 a.m. Here's a few hours later, it's gone. And a few hours after that, it's completely gone. Okay, and what I want to show is, since they have done this 4 days in a row, the precipitation total map, as I said before, when they do a HAARP Downburst, you know, they core out the storm. The dry air kills the storm in the middle, and often it'll squeeze out a crescent of rain at the edge. In fact, that's real common. And it did yesterday. So for September 3rd morning attack, this is the rain result. And that HAARP Downburst was right here. So, you know, normal precip is, you know, a storm starts raining, and then the jet stream will just drag it slowly along. You get these long stripes of rain. That's normal. This is not normal here. This thing here, that's not normal. That's very commonly seen with these HAARP Downbursts. So how can we tell that clockwise rotation is not a normal thing? One more time I'll show you this clockwise rotation here, because it's pretty dramatic, really. Okay, there's long wave infrared, about noon. Anyway, definite clockwise movement here, definite clockwise, and even here clockwise. So clockwise means descending air. It has to be descending air. So the question is there anything in the pressure maps that can explain that clockwise movement? This is the surface pressure, no high pressure here. We should be seeing a circular thing with these wind barbs rotating clockwise. And keep in mind these barbs point into the prevailing wind. So this is a south wind here. That does not explain the westward, the clockwise movement. Okay, here's sea level about 6 hours later. Same thing, no change. Here's a jet stream. Oh dear. When this was happening, they did not want to label this jet stream map. So 6 hours later, again, there's no high pressure here. But one thing that is just plain amazing is that this wind barb here is pointing into the prevailing wind. So right here, we've got wind shooting to the south. See this barb? That confirms the fact that there is descending air being pressed down on top of this thunderstorm. Not only that, we can look at these vertical velocity maps. Here's 850 millibar vertical velocity, that's 5,000 feet altitude, and the yellow is rising air. This gray here is falling air. And this is about 7 a.m. when this downburst was happening. This gray spot here is descending air. That's the Harp Downburst. And we go to 700 millibar, which is 10,000 feet. That descending air is still there, has not moved. Now we jump ahead 6 hours. Yeah, 6 hours. We jump ahead to, and this 850 millibar, 5,000 feet. That descending air is still locked in place. Still got air being pressed down, dry air being pressed down. And here's the 10,000 foot map, and exactly the same damn thing. So from 5,000 feet to 10,000 feet, that area had an area of descending air for 6 hours straight, which completely obliterated this thunderstorm. So that's pretty powerful evidence. Now you're probably asking yourself, wow, they've done this 4 mornings in a row, right at daybreak. Why would they bother with that? Right? And I would just have to say there's possibility that they, number one, they don't care about drought in Michigan and Indiana and Illinois. If I could show you the drought map, you'll see that there is no drought there. There's no way they're going to be able to buy up water rights. And personally, I doubt these people care about the corn crop if the soybeans have wet feet or not, you know. So what I think is going on here is by stopping a low pressure building here in the jet stream, which I believe would be a powerful low pressure, because 4 days in a row Mother Nature's tried to build that. By stopping that, they're affecting something in Europe, possibly a weather warfare attack on Britain or France or Germany. If we step ahead in this jet stream forecast, this is the current jet stream. And if we go ahead, we can see this thing bulge up into Greenland. And that's terrible, because this is warm air being dragged over that ice. That's really bad. And it gets worse. 12 hours from now, that's really terrible. Melting this ice. And oh man, that's even worse. So, are they doing that so that Greenland melts? And 24 hours from now, wow, that warm air is just dragged over that same spot for 24 hours. That is just horrible. 30 hours, 36 hours, 42 hours. And after 78 hours, and after that far, it's hard to predict. But by attacking that storm in Missouri and Illinois 4 days in a row, I just really do think that this is something to do with the Atlantic, maybe even with Europe. Maybe it's a weather attack on these other countries. But this is not something that I gave my permission, you know. None of us gave our permission for this to happen. And we all ought to ask who's doing it, and why are they doing it, and how can we stop it? So, you know, I would say sign up with geoengineeringwatch.org. Dane Wigington is the only guy on top of this stuff, and actually using scientific data to try to apply some pressure to get these programs turned off. But, you know, you can see that's clockwise rotation, and by definition that is descending air. In fact, it's centered right on the right spot, isn't it? Here we found 6 hours of descending air, and then as it flows outwards, it takes on a clockwise twist because of the Coriolis acceleration of the Earth. So, hey, it all fits together like a jigsaw puzzle, and we just finished it. But I'm not happy about this. These profiteers are doing something without our permission, without our knowledge, and we've got to stop it. So, hey, thanks for watching.